Hey.
We are
What's
live.
up? Hey.
I like that dance.
I do. I never know what to do with my hands. Like, I don't know if I should do the Birdman when we
I don't
come
know why
live,
I always do that. I think it's just a force of habit or something.
Welcome everyone. Today is yet another glorious Wednesday. You are chilling with the Yup Live crew, and it is Wednesday, October 21st. You guys,
Where did the year go? Where did the month go? It went from like October 1st through like the 21st in a blink of an eye.
It did. This month went quick.
Is it Scorpio season?
Finally, yes, finally.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know about the signs.
I feel like Libra season just took a long time this year.
It's too many people born in Libra season. I think it's a lot of New Year's Eve celebrations that turn into Libras being born.
I think I agree with you.
Okay.
That's just what
yeah. Mercury's in retrograde and 444 and 1111 and
angel
all of that together. You know, all
Lord,
of that.
I keep seeing 444.
What?
Literally, I keep seeing 444.
I saw it today for sure. I definitely saw. I'm gonna start texting you guys when I see it, and then whatever
I see it all the time.
Yeah,
that's that 1111 44 twin flame thing. You know, it all comes with the Mercury and together. All of
Mercury. Yeah. Gatorade. Look, Mercury and Gatorade. That's what somebody said.
Mercury and Gatorade. I read a meme about that the other day. It was like, hey, if you want to impress a girl, just always text her at 444, and she gonna think the universe is talking to her. I read that the other day. I did. It's not me. That was a meme. That was a meme.
That might work. But we have so many things to discuss with you guys today. Shout out to our lovely Miss Jasmine Laverne, who's watching in today. Hope you feel well and blessed and gracious.
Feel better.
Yes, we love you. Yeah, packed week. A lot has happened. First, I want to start with the election. We are now down to 2 weeks. There's a lot of commotion, a lot of craziness. It never ceases to amaze me what's happening with this election. Tomorrow will be the final debate. We get an actual debate between the two candidates tomorrow. They will be in person. I don't know if they're going to have a shield. I don't know who's getting tested, what's going to happen. It's going to be crazy. Did any of you have a chance to check out the town halls, the dueling town halls that happened at the same time last week?
I definitely did. It was interesting. You know, so two things that stuck out to me with both candidates. One, when the commentator was asking Trump, like, did you get tested? Just kind of how he was dancing around that. I was like, he's like, yeah, I'm all good every day. And then so she asked him the question several different times in different ways, and he had a different response. So that stood out to me about his town hall. And then for Biden, when they asked him about the mandatory vaccine, his response, which was like, I mean, I guess if 80%, yeah, I guess I would, but you can't really mandate it. You have to really make the governors mandate it. And just his response kind of made me feel like the answer was yes, but he didn't want to flat out just say yes. So those were the two things that kind of stuck out to me the most about both of the candidates. It was definitely interesting.
Yeah. What about you, Lawrence?
I agree. You know, I only saw clips of the Trump one. And the fact that he couldn't remember, I think Ply said this, like, you can't remember if you got tested a week ago or which day, but you can remember all of this stuff from years ago about all these other allegations and tax allegations and everything else. It's ridiculous. So I heard a few lies there, but I didn't watch the whole thing. The part about the potential coronavirus vaccine, that stood out for me about Biden's, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the mandating, and I understand what he was saying from a legal standpoint. Governors have what are called police powers. They're the ones that can actually like force the citizens of the state to do more than the federal government can. But I don't know how I would feel about that. Like if it is a viable vaccine, I would want people to take it. You know, I don't want to have to be walking around here fearing being sick and everything. But at the same time, I know as Black people, we have a history with the government and them putting messed up stuff in our bodies. So I'm still on the fence about that.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but I know a lot of people that have unfortunately gotten the coronavirus and have recovered without a vaccine. So I'm torn. And I also know that there have been people that lost older loved ones as well. So it's just kind of like it's tricky. But what about you, Sharik? What do you think?
On that, I thought that was he played it safe. It definitely, he's appealing to different bases that he knows that he needs to appeal to in these swing states that we went over just before we went on live. And what stood out to me too with the debate, with the Biden conversation, is that he was very informative. I think he actually laid out some actual policy plans, which we know he wasn't able to do in the first debate because the guy he called a clown was talking over him the entire time. So it was very refreshing to be able to hear him kind of lay out some actual systematic things. And he actually addressed some of the controversies pertaining to his past and things that he voted on. And he actually even admitted that the crime bill back in, 1992?
93 or
4. He actually verbally said it was a mistake. So I think that was a very big move on his behalf. There was a young African-American gentleman that asked him a question about race relations, and he just went for it. Talked about systemic oppression, racial oppression. I think he did a very good job appealing to Black America, specifically to us. But there was definitely some things he could have answered better. So I'm excited.
I was thinking that. I was like, when he asked that question, and the guy, even that he even though he really didn't answer it, I think, as good and eloquently as he could. He talked about, the younger generation and kind of giving funding to them, and that's great. But when you think of millennials and Generation X, it's kind of like, what are you going to do for that generation, which is pretty much our generation? And I thought he could have done a little bit better at answering that. And you could tell from the person that asked, he was like, did I answer? He was like, like he didn't want to say no, but
it was
really
loaded. It was a lot. Yeah. What he did talk about was land ownership and how that's the key to wealth. He did touch on that, which I thought was excellent, because that is, in this America that we're in, that is usually the key. That's the block that we have to go around in order to establish generational wealth in our community. So I thought that was pretty cool that he did do that. And hey, Jasmine, she's in our comment.
Hey.
Hey, y'all.
She mentioned your prop back there, Mr. Lawrence.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it last week. I had a family birthday to attend, but I wanted to put these up. These two propositions are near and dear to my heart. Prop 16, please vote yes. It's about affirmative action. I know everybody's. I missed the episode. Everybody's already talked about it. But in Prop 22. It's no on that. That's the proposition relating to Uber drivers and Lyft drivers. And there's a lot of media coverage because those companies have a lot of money and they're pushing for it. But essentially, if you vote yes on Prop 22, you're saying that these individuals that drive 40, 50, 60 hours a week shouldn't be able to get equal health care as other employees of the state of California. So this is making sure they actually get the benefits they deserve.
That's interesting.
So wait, so 22, but yes on Prop 22, is that putting them on a W-2?
Yes, they would have to be considered legally employees, which comes along with a slew of other rights from the company standpoint.
Yeah, I think I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
So I think I'm no on Prop 22 because I ride Uber and Lyft all the time. That's kind of how I got from the airport today. And that limits them. So if they're an employee, unfortunately, that limits the amount of income that they receive. So I do encourage you guys to definitely look it up for yourselves.
Whoa. How does that limit that?
Because they're contracted. So so they are contracted. So the more you work, the more you get paid. So if they're essentially put on a salary or a W-2, that limits the amount they get paid. Yes, they get health care, but a lot of them, they don't want that. I talk to them directly. They don't really want that.
I understand that, but I'm saying that it's not like it limits what they can do. You can be an employee and work 60 hours a week as well. You would just have to get paid more. When you're an employee, they have to give you actual overtime, and you won't be getting the same rates as they're getting now. They get all these other benefits. Now, yes, I understand from somebody that's in it at the moment. I think we discussed this a few episodes back, when it came to mandating that everyone stop working, right? If you give a few people the opportunity to work and go to work, then yes, if I have to pay bills, I'm going to want that. But when you make a law saying that everybody stays home and that we're going to give federal benefits to people, then everybody can feel protected and that they don't have to, it's not a crab in the bucket mentality, which is going on right now. Now, yes, I think the only bad part about voting yes on Prop 22 is that we'll have to pay a little more.
Yeah.
as a consumer, but like they'll still work. Like Uber's still going to operate in California. What you think they're not going to operate in California and New York? Of course they are. You're going to have to pay them more.
They like the idea of being independent contractors. Like I'm in Uber and Lyft all the time. I like all of them that I've talked to, they like that idea. So on Prop 22, I think that's a very neutral, because I actually have talked to the people that drive for Uber and Lyft, and they're independent contractors. And they're the ones, as well as if you look at what the prop says, it'll tell you. So it just kind of like, it really just depends on the individual. Some of them don't really care, unfortunately, about the benefits. They want to be able to make their own schedules, and they want to be able to get the same compensation that they've been getting. And so I can't really, I think it would be unfair to tell people to vote yes on, or you told them to vote no on Prop 22, because I will personally, I'm going to vote yes on Prop 22, because I'm in both Ubers and Lyfts every single time I travel.
I respect it. And I think this is really good that Black people can have respectful discourse and disagreement. I drove Uber for like 2 or 3 years. So, I know I have a personal anecdotal experience as well, but I think that we disagree, And
it's not just Uber and Lyft. There's also other rideshare or you have Uber Eats, you have Postmates, you have Instacart. These people are also affected.
Which I just received some food from as well.
Right.
It's a slippery slope, though. I will say this, because Uber and Lyft have been breaking the law. That's the reason why they need this proposition, because when they came out, they knew that this was potentially going to happen. So they set up their entire business model to try to circumvent paying people what they should have gotten. So I feel like that's wrong in the past. But it's a slippery slope when you start saying, hey, if you don't want benefits, you don't need them. If you go back to after the Great Depression.
No one said you didn't need them. No one said you didn't.
This is how it starts. If you start, will be the only industry in the state of California where you can work 60 hours a week and not get the benefits of being an employee. And once you start here, I guarantee you more and more industries will start limiting the pay, they will start limiting the benefits, and then you'll have individuals out here working 80 hours a week with no health care. But hey, if that's what people want because they want a cheaper Uber ride, I guess.
We'll just have to respectfully agree to disagree, because I do think that some people, as Jasmine said, want like Uber and Lyft for supplemental income, so they can still be able to work there. And I talked about this last week, Lawrence. I know you wasn't here, but they're still able to work whatever their passion is. So if I'm an actress, I can work during the day. I can do Uber at night. I can do Uber Eats at night. So they have the flexibility to make their own schedules. That's the benefit of being an independent contractor. So it's okay. We'll just have to agree to disagree on.
I wonder if there's some sort of common ground that they can come to. Like maybe if for those people who do say, I want to be an independent contractor, they can say, I want to be an independent contractor. For those who do want to be on the W-2, I wonder if there's some sort of middle ground for those people. As you guys said, some people, this is going to be what they do for the rest of their lives, or as long as they can. Or for those who are just going to be utilizing this as supplemental income.
Exactly.
But in terms of agreeing to disagree, to our next topic.
This is a good segue. This is a great
segue. Lawrence, go ahead.
So our next topic, I wanted to spend a moment to talk about Ice Cube and 50 Cent. They've been in the news lately. Ice Cube, over the last month or so, has been very adamant about coming up with a contract for Black America. He stated on many accounts that he's not for voting for simply Democrats or simply Republicans based on historical preference or just doing it because we're supposed to. He wants to demand new legislation and demand that all these individuals, whoever wins, whatever political party, come up with a specific agenda for Black Americans. This has been piggybacked on by the likes of Charlemagne the God, P. Diddy kind of supported it in some ways. And it's really hit ahead recently because reports have come out and Ice Cube has admitted that he's met with the Republican Party. I guess that's the background history. There's been a lot of back and forth in the Black community of saying, hey, you shouldn't have met with Trump's team. You shouldn't be meeting with them. And he's saying that he's going to meet with whoever wants to meet with them. And he's trying to come up with ideas. To be fair to him, he does have it listed on a website. I think it's Contract for Black America. You can Google it. It was 4 pages. Now it's like 14 pages. And finally, 50 Cent came out yesterday after a news report broke that the marginal tax rate in California could hit 62% under Joe Biden's tax plan. He said, I'm not voting for that. I'm going to vote for Trump. Now, I want to remind people that the marginal tax rate just means the incremental, the highest tax bracket that you'll be in, but your effective tax rate would still at the highest would be around 50 or 40 something percent, which is greater than it is now, but it's not as bad as 62% sounds. So with that history, I guess I'll open it up to you guys first. I got a lot of personal comments, but how do you feel about Ice Cube and his comments? And how do you feel about 50 Cent all of a sudden being a Trump supporter for the money?
I just think it's funny that people really went in on Ice Cube, but I don't feel that same energy towards 50. And I don't know, because we're just so used to 50 being controversial or, you know, whatever, appealing to whatever it is that he appeals to. People just, he gave his reason. So people were like, oh, okay, he's rich, you know, so we understand. So to me, I think it's very interesting. I even saw people debating about Ice Cube, and some people had friends defriend them and block them because someone was on Ice Cube's side. I would say I'm not mad at Ice Cube. Once you do your research and you hear him speak about the actual process in which he went through speaking to Trump's campaign, he didn't meet directly with Trump. He spoke to their campaign, and they put it out there kind of flagrantly and twisted it the way that they wanted to. He reached out to Joe Biden's team, who said to him, you know, we'll get back to you after this election. This is what we're focused on. I don't know if I think that was a good thing or a bad thing. I definitely understand them saying that because they're not the current, you know, he's not the current president. But I get it. I commend him for putting forth the effort and, you know, bringing about a good conversation between Black America.
How you feel about it, Gigi?
You know, listen, I always say I am looking for someone to utilize their influence to make changes. And I think that that's what he's doing. He made a conscious effort to reach out to both parties to kind of see who would do the best job for the Black community. And so I think that anytime someone hears Trump's name and any affiliation, they automatically think, oh, you are a Trump supporter or you're voting for Trump. But it's more so like Ice Cube seemed like he was really trying to get to know both of them. And I can respect that he actually met with the Republican Party and he wanted to meet with the Democratic Party as well. What I tend to see is these politicians meet with influencers that, yes, they may have a lot of, I don't know what you would call it. They may have a lot of passion. You know, you said it, not me. Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out, you know, and I like her. I mean, I you know, she's cool and everything like that, but you met with her, but someone that actually came to you with a plan of how he thinks the Black community can benefit, you didn't have time to meet with him. And so that does raise some concerns. You know, you're meeting with people that essentially are not on the same playing field with you in regards to the knowledge that it takes to have a mature and educated conversation about some of these things.
We're not gonna sneak this on Cardi like that. We don't know.
No, but what I do know because I saw the interview. So my thing is it's just a different conversation. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take, she's a very smart, intelligent lady, but Ice Cube came with a black contract. As you said, it was 4 pages, now it's 14. So he is literally taking the time out to figure out how he can benefit the Black community and which candidate is going to do that the best so that he can inform us. And I think that there's something to be said about that effort.
I mean, if you look at it historically in the Black community, we know the OGs always got the key to the community. You know what I mean? And I would say Ice Cube is that OG. And then, you know, he even said it himself. He's been canceled many a times. You know, when he left NWA, when he decided to be an actor, people said, you can't do it. So he's always been very steadfast in doing what he wants and being a positive influence and a role model within our community. So that was a good point that you brought up regarding Cardi B. I didn't even think about that until just now. So Lawrence, you want to respond?
So I have 2 quick points. The first one is I think he's absolutely wrong, but I think that that's okay. I think it's okay to have disagreement within your community. I think that the Black ideology or the Black goal isn't a monolith. We don't all think the same. We don't all want the same things. And so I was disappointed in my own community of coming at him so hard. It's like, hey, he has been loyal to the Black community from his actions throughout his career. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he just came in for the last, 5 minutes, or it's not like every time he comes and speaks on behalf or for the Black community. It's always with some negativity. Terry Crews. So he's doing a lot of good stuff. So if he has this one thing that he wants to do and go talk to Republicans about it, and this is his initial engagement into the political sphere, fine, do whatever you want to do. Now, I wouldn't have met with Trump, and I wouldn't have met with that, well, not Trump, but the Republican Party, because I've seen how they've used African Americans as tools throughout the entire presidency. I remember when Steve Harvey met with him, he tried to do the same sort of thing 4 years ago. He came back and was like, that was a mistake. Even if we want to talk about Kanye West meeting and wearing the hat, MAGA hat, even Kanye came back and was like, I'm no longer going to be quote unquote affiliated because they're using my name in a way that I don't want it to be. And the same thing happened. There was a picture of 50 Cent and Ice Cube together, and they superimposed the Trump 2020 hat on. And then Ice Cube had to say, nigga, please. Like, no, I wasn't wearing the hat. So that's the reason why I wouldn't have met with him. But going back to his black contract, going back to his ideology, I don't necessarily believe with a lot of this. I don't think that I would order what the Black community needs in the same order in which he did. But again, I want to be very clear. Black people, we should be on the same team as much as we can be. And if somebody has a different way of going about something, as long as it's not breaking us down, even if you're going in a different direction, I'm like, cool, you do that over there. If it works out for you, good luck. I don't think it will. But like you said, people were unfollowing each other, friendships, cousins mad at each other right now. I'm like, come on, we didn't need all that.
Yeah.
What did I say last week? I was like, don't let this ruin your friendships. Like, don't let it ruin your friendships. It's okay to have different thought processes and to think differently. It doesn't change your relationships. And so I can't stress that enough. that enough.
You guys just brought something to my attention that I forgot to bring up earlier in regards to divisiveness. I don't know if you've seen the viral video that's been going around with the two Republican and Democratic candidates for governor in the state of Utah. They did a campaign video together where they were actually saying that, like, we can disagree on our policies, we can disagree on certain things, but to attack each other's character, to attack, to that degree that creates more of a divide is just unnecessary. And it was very refreshing to see, and to see these two men up there together. Maybe they split that campaign money in half, but they didn't have to. I just thought it was very refreshing. And when I can, I'll probably pull up the video so we can watch it, or I'll post it on our Instagram. But I think maybe Trump, in an odd way, it was a good thing for America because it separated us so much that we were at the buoyancy part of the rubber band where we have to snap back together. So, and I agree the same thing for Black America. We may have differences in opinions, but I think at the end of the day, we need to see that we all, at the end of the day, want the same thing. We want to live well, we want peace, we want prosperity, and that's it. So how we go about it is totally up to you. Speaking of peace, this particular show is going to be about relations, international relations. So I was in LA, as I live in LA, actually running around and trying to live my life. And I saw all these flags going across the street. It was, cars going by. Lots of protests have been happening within Los Angeles. So I did my investigation. It was also on the news. The Armenian community in Los Angeles have come out in droves. They are protesting. Armenian Americans and their allies rallied last Sunday and throughout the week around the Turkish consulate of Beverly Hills, waving their flags and chanting in a show of support for Armenians in the Nagorno, excuse me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, Nagorno-Karabakh, a disputed ethnic enclave at the center of an escalating conflict between Armenia and neighboring Azerbaijan. What I have done my research tells me that this particular community is at the center of this because it's a very spiritual community, and they want America to get involved. America, the big bad police, likes to go after these war-torn countries that have something for them, oil, and other advantages. And so with Armenia protesting, and we know that there's a lot of them here in Hollywood, they're coming out in droves, and we're seeing a lot of it. And I think it's very important for us to educate ourselves to know what's going on in the rest of the world. So have you guys heard anything about these Armenian protests? Do you have any thoughts about it?
I will speak to, I guess, just the topic of America's involvement in international relations, and it's a very sticky topic. I have some Armenian friends, and dealing with the Turkish government and what's going on, there are definite civil rights abuses. And I can see how people are looking for America's support. And this is something we'll get into. Really be the theme of the entire episode. I think the greatest question is when do we want America to step in? And when do we want America to stay out? And where do we draw that line between like crossing the line, doing too much? And it's on one hand, America is the ultimate hypocrite because we have our own issues here. So any that America wants to step in and solve someone else's problems, they're like, well, you need to look at Portland. You know, you have protests going on. You have your own police officers killing your own citizens. So from that standpoint, other countries kind of look and be like, hey, step out. And then from another standpoint, you're looking at, like you said, you alluded to earlier, we have a history of going in and being advantageous, taking oil, if you will, or at least that's what it looks like. We're going in for minerals and going in for our own benefit and not really for helping others. And so I'm always conflicted. It's really on a case by case basis of like, what should we ask our government to do? And do we trust them to do the right thing?
I agree. I definitely agree with you. Gigi, did you have any thoughts?
I'm gonna be honest. My thoughts are tied up with Africa right now. Africa is bleeding, and I know we're gonna get to Nigeria a little bit later, but even Congo, you know, they are being killed. Over 1 million people have died in Congo. Hashtag Congo is bleeding. Nobody's talking about that. So, and again, it's for the resources, and so it's kind of like, not to take away from the Armenian community. I just think my thoughts and my prayers and my heart has been grieving for Africa. And there's so many different things going on, but I encourage you guys all to look up Congo and what's actually going on with Congo. Congo is bleeding is the hashtag. And I always say this wrong. Is it Nambia? Again, they have gender and sexual violence that's going on right now. And their hashtag is hashtag shut it all down. And so, you know, women and young girls, they're experiencing physical and verbal abuse and sexual abuse from men. That's going on literally current right now. And so my thoughts and prayers go out to them. But I've been really trying to research those stories and kind of educate everyone about that because the news isn't talking about it. They're not covering it, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of international affairs that the news is kind of picking and choosing what it wants to discuss. Definitely, we haven't been hearing a lot about that. And then as, you know, we introduce our guests, we're going to learn more about the actual SARS devastation that's happening in Nigeria. But I think us as Americans, we do have that we want to help mentality because that's just, you know, that's who we are. We're international. We're an international community. And so I'm just curious as to what we can really actually do. You know, like, I don't know what we can actually do other than, you know, sending aid, bringing awareness, because this is somebody else's country with their own government. You know what I mean? Like, what can we actually do is my question. But I do want to introduce a very, very special guest. We're going to bring him in right now, Mr. Timmy. Hello, how are you?
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Timmy Adeyebo. Are you Esquire? Do you ever go by Esquire?
I mean, I don't really do that, but yes, a lot of people use Esquire.
We have another. We have another Bruin in the building as well, so we got to shout that out there.
Let's go. That's extra rare. You're not gonna find too many, you know, Black Bruin lawyers. That's rare, man. Shout out.
I know, right?
I've known Timmy for some years. Timmy is a triple threat in the business industry. He divides his time as an entertainment lawyer, business consultant, and entrepreneur. He studied entertainment and music business at the UC of LA. And his experience of over 10 years in the music and movie industry has given him the opportunity to work with several top entertainers in the business, including my boo Miku. Hi, if you're watching. Timmy is also the the COO and founder of Amplify Africa, who if you haven't been living under a rock, and if you are in any way affiliated with any African or any of the African industries, you know about Amplify Africa. They have been doing an amazing job just uniting people, bringing people together of the African diaspora. So not just Nigerian, just everyone from all over. I did see Black Panther with Amplify Africa at the theater. It was the most amazing experience.
Yeah, one of the best events ever.
That was the best experience ever. So yes, Timmy, welcome to Yup. We have.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Thank you. So Gigi, I know you wanted to go ahead and discuss our next topic.
Yes, and so I know you guys have been seeing the hashtag in SARS, and we all know that Nigeria is going through a devastating time. And so I just wanted to let you guys know, what is SARS? It's the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And so basically that's a special police force that was intended to protect the people, to prevent robbery, certain types of like violence. And so the very thing that they were intended to prevent is actually what they're doing. And so they are targeting, the news reports are saying, young individuals that seem to have money and that are wealthy. You have an iPhone, or if you look like you're from an affluent family, there is murder in the street, harassment in the street. It is just such a devastating time in Nigeria, and it's so sad. It's so sad. And so again, that hashtag is in SARS. And so I know you guys have been seeing it all over social media. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's just really, really sad. Because, as you said rightly, and SARS is, I guess it's important for us to understand, the background of SARS. I think SARS was created in 1992. As you said, Gigi, to curb and to, just reduce what armed robbery is, or, just act of violence, but it's so sad that looking back, the acts that were, created to curb is actually what they are in turn doing. They extort people, they kidnap people, they killed people, extrajudicial killings, for years. And, just right now, for the past 3 years, Nigerians have been speaking up against this act of, police brutality that's been happening. They target young guys, youth. Once you look nice, it's an offense to even dress well. It's an offense to have an iPhone. It's an offense to drive a good car. It's an offense to have tattoos. It's an offense to have any stylish hair. Once you just look like a successful person, you are a direct target for this police squad. And it's so horrible because, a lot of Nigerians are entrepreneurial. They're very hardworking and they work hard for their money. It's not to say we don't have people who are, the Yahoo boys, which is usually the internet fraudsters. We obviously have them there, but not everybody who uses iPhone. I was watching Trevor Noah the other day, and he was saying it was like criminals don't use iPhones. They use flip phones. So, which is true, because no one is going to be using an iPhone to perpetrate all these things. But that's besides that, it's just so horrible that the people that you're meant to protect, you're actually killing them. You're extorting them. A lot of people have lost their families. A lot of people have lost, just if you go online, it's just so horrible. So the NSARS thing started about 3 years ago. And, in 2017, the IG said they disbanded them, and people felt it was true, but we later saw them resurface. In 2018 happened the same way. 2019, the same story. And this year, I think like people are just done with it, and the Nigerian youths are standing up against this act of brutality that's going on, and they're not backing down. But, it's been peaceful for the past 2 weeks. The protest has been peaceful, although, there's been a lot of intimidation from political, leaders who are trying to, take this up and turn it into act of violence. You know, they're engaging hoodlums, thugs to infiltrate the peaceful protest. You know, and unfortunately, last night was one of the most the horrible one of the most horrible periods during this protest, where, you know, suddenly, so there's a place called the Lekki Toll Gate. I don't know if you guys have read about it or seen
It's
it.
like
The Lekki Toll, yeah, it's like a toll gate where, like, that's where, like, the major spot was for, like, the main protest, you know. And suddenly they realized that some people started taking out the cameras, the CCTV cameras, they switch off the light. So it was so dark, and military men started shooting at people. Military men started shooting at people. It was so bad. About over 12 people have died so far. A lot of people have been injured, and it's just been so horrible, you know. And all what these guys are asking for is accountability. You know, it all started with the police brutality, you know, I'll say, but also, like, it goes beyond just police brutality. It also goes to the fact that Nigeria has, you know, is known to be the giant of Africa, whereas, like, there's so many things wrong. You know, the senator in Nigeria earns over $32,000 a month. Where the minimum wage is less than $70.
Wow.
The minimum wage per month. I'm not talking about minimum wage per hour. Like, we do monthly wages, you know, salary. So a police is given about 60,000 naira, which is about $150, right, per month. And you give that same police a gun and tell him to protect to protect the people.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think you're bringing up a very valid point.
It just goes. It goes beyond just, like, police brutality. We have bad educational system. We have we don't have 24 hours electricity. We don't. People are suffering.
Timmy, I'm so glad that you brought up that point, because you made me think about something that that I was reading, actually. Maybe it was something that I was watching earlier today, that said that there's one family that owns, if not half of Nigeria, but the most of Nigeria, specifically in Lagos. And they were saying that, you know which family I'm talking about. I'm not going to
I think I know who you're talking about. I think it was a former governor of Lagos State, Tinubu. His name is Tinubu. He's also a huge godfather in the ruling party right now.
Exactly. And so you think about these individuals, because they say that the politicians in Nigeria make the most money. And so you think about the individuals that are billionaires, and the rest of the people are suffering. And this is near and dear to my heart, because according to my genealogy report, I'm Nigerian too. And so I was really looking forward. I know, right? You know, we could be cousins or something. I see the resemblance.
I know, right?
But, you know, I was planning on going. You know, I wanted to go last year. I couldn't go last year, so I was planning to go this year. And then now that all of this is going on, it is just, it's devastating. But Sharik, I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think it's very interesting that when you look at the core of these issues, even in America, a lot of it really breaks down to social economics. It really breaks down to a differentiation in class and in wealth. And that you mentioned these officers, you give them guns, but you don't give them the right adequate pay. So no wonder someone concocted this scheme to stop people who look like they have money and take their money, because they have the power and they were given the rights to do so. So I know that has even come up within these protests. They're not just asking for peace. They're asking for the wealth to be spread. They're asking for better infrastructure. You're asking for, better jobs, a better educational system, as you mentioned. Has there been any figures in the community that have really stood out to you that has created some sort of plan or an agenda, such as like maybe an Ice Cube has done, that you know of, or do you think you guys are still in the beginning stages of figuring out what the actual resolution would be?
Okay, so according to them, to the IG of police, they said the vice president of Nigeria, they have said they have given the state the right to set up what's it called, some judicial panels, to panels on inquiry, to look into like the issues of prosecuting those who are some of the police officers who have done all that stuff. And also I think that for me, it goes beyond that, because the state, although they have the power to do the panel of inquiries, they do not. The police is not run by the state. The police is a federal body, right? It's under the exclusive rights, which is left to the federal government. So like, there's so many things that goes beyond that. I mean, back to your question of how many people have been coming up. A lot of celebrities are been clamoring, and I think that even just globally, here in LA, we've done about two protests already on the street. And actually, right now, it started by 6. I'm heading to a candlelight vigil to just to speak up as well, and also to commemorate with people who have lost their lives. And we're gonna be having Wale. Wale is coming there tonight. The Shade Drum is gonna be there to do. So if you guys are available to come after this,
I was like, maybe I should go. I love Wale.
Yeah.
You have to DM us the information.
Yeah, but so like a lot of people in the corners have been just holding conversations. We're also planning like a town hall at Amplify Africa with one of the Nigerian ambassador for diaspora to kind of like speak on behalf of the diaspora, and because we're not there, although we understand what's going on. Some of us, a lot of us we've been victims of all this crime that's been committed against us, and like we're not gonna keep quiet. So all around the US, all around the diaspora, you can go on Amplify Africa and check like the protests going on. You can be part of it, join, and just participate. And I'll speak to non-Nigerians as well. Almost everybody has a Nigerian friend. Almost everybody knows one Nigeria, because Nigeria is the largest Black nation in the world.
Yeah.
The 5th most populous nation in the world. So one person, one person, regardless if you're Black, I could promise you, one way or the other, you're linked to us. So for Black Lives Matter in Nigeria, people came out to protest. So if you're watching and you feel like, oh, it's not my problem, I promise you it's your problem, because your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your aunties were going through hardship, and we want you to speak up. The more we speak up, the better for us, because most news, media, they're not picking this up. And it goes beyond Nigeria as well, as Gigi spoke earlier. Things are happening in Namibia, in Congo, your iPhone, the iPhone you guys are using, the quota that they use for it, they're exploiting people back home in Africa to make this electronic. So people are being killed, people are dying. In Ethiopia, there's ethnic, issues going on there. In where else? There's so many other places where like there's just a lot of upright. So you guys speak up for Africa, because whether you like it or not, you are all from Africa. You're all Africans before you became any other thing. If you remember that, cool. So,
yeah. Lawrence, did you have any questions for Timmy or anything you wanted to speak on?
I was just like letting it all sink in. I think it's such a serious situation, and it's so impactful. And I think everything you said is correct. I think it's important for our listeners and fan base to know that throughout all of this, I think this is a time where we should highlight the unity between all members of the diaspora. Like Blackness is Blackness is Blackness, and speaking up and speaking out is always something that is helpful, even if you like don't know exactly what to do. Reaching out to get more information, reaching out using your voice, reaching out to use whatever platform you have to spread light on it so that more people hear about it. And in a very similar sense to like Breonna Taylor, you know, it's like say her name,
Yep.
you know, you need to speak out about it because that does start an avalanche going.
Yep.
So in undergrad, I studied Africana studies, and it was always apparent to me, like from the very beginning, of how horrible colonialism was in Africa for so many reasons. One, because it drew artificial lines between communities. Two, because you had three major parties like the Portuguese, the British, and then come in and just take over pieces of different countries of Africa. And then afterwards, they just left. You know, like, all right, peace. And so you have essentially, when we talk about corruption, you have different areas in different states in Africa that are corrupt because A, they don't necessarily see a connection to others, that they're not actually from their original cultural and ethnic groups. And then B, we've left as the world has not done their duty of repairing what they broke down, right? So I always think too, what is the United States role? And we spoke to this a little before you got on here, Timmy, and I'm going to ask you this question. The United States has had questionable interactions with other areas we were supposedly going in to help. You know, people have said we came to get oil, you know what I'm saying? We've left destruction where we've gone. And I definitely understand how we as a people need to help. How do you feel the American government should help? What do you feel comfortable with? Do you trust the American government getting in and trying to help? Or how do you feel about that?
That's a great question.
That's a very, very great question. And I would say that, you know, you hit the nail on the head. There's so many times, you know, the Western world will say, okay, America, we need the African countries will say, oh, we need help. You know, we need international help. We need America. We need, you know, Europe to come help us. You know, but the truth is, when you think about it, it's almost like someone who killed you, you're asking them to resuscitate you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a very it's a very crazy thing because where Africa is today is due to the act of what, you know, the Western world has done. You know, the amount of exploitation going on, which is still going on.
Yeah.
You know, and there's been a lot of talks as to how, you know, they create a lot of unrest in all these countries indirectly just so they can say, oh, we're gonna come help you. You know, so for me, I think I would stick to, as they always say, I'm a strong believer that, you know, African problems deserve African solutions. You know, it's been tried so many times where you're trying to use, you know, a foreign solution for a local problem. It wouldn't work. Like, because the mentality, the society, they're all totally different. You know, what the people in Africa understand is totally different from what we understand over here. So we need to look for local solutions for local problems. That's all I would say. However, you know, for the fact that we're part of international bodies, I think that, you know, the ICC should definitely be involved. You know, if America could use their media, the way they use their media to, you know, talk rubbish about Africa, if they can use their media to amplify what's going on and also help with solutions and guide, you know, I think that that's what we need. But we don't necessarily need them to come in there and start bringing out their army or say, oh, we're gonna help you guys. You know, I think that intellectually, maybe we could use some of their ideas on how they've dealt with, you know, issues. But I'll tell you, America has a lot of problems too. You know, they haven't even dealt with their own systemic racism. They haven't dealt with what's hitting them, and they're in denial of the problem. So the honest fact is, I'd say, you know, we just have to deal with our own problems, and, you know, if we can get a lot of like noise and like them helping with the international bodies who are, you know, charged with that kind of issues, then that's what we need. But I don't need them to kind of like intervene on the ground.
Yeah.
Got you.
We already know how that ends.
Exactly.
I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you said. I've, you know, like you said, we all have Nigerian friends. We know somebody that has a Nigerian friend. You know, we're all interconnected. And as Gigi said, she's gone down her lineage and she's been able to, you know, discover her roots directly to Nigeria. What would you say are some of the confines or some of the issues that we would need to get over between Black America and Africans that aren't born here necessarily, that migrated to America? What are some of the ways that we can better connect with one another? Because I know as of late, at least to me, I feel as though with social media, you know, being so huge and kind of connecting everyone, I think we've been able to have more visibility with the African diaspora and just seeing all of our differences and coming together and unite. However, I still feel as though there's some lingering residue of, you know, different communities saying that, oh, they think they're better than us. There's also the whole model African citizen connotation that gets thrown out there a lot. So I just curious how you can speak to that and how can we get over some of those issues to better connect us and not be so divisive?
Yeah, that's a very sweet question. And that's something that, you know, Amplify Africa is like, that's essentially our mission. What you just said right now is essentially what our mission is to bring, you know, all Africans, every Black person in diaspora together, and to understand that we're all one, and to understand, you know, that in times, just in general, you know, like we all came from there, and we can't continue to be divided. You know, united we stronger we are, you know, and divided we fall. So for me, platforms like this, forums like this, having someone like me join in conversation like this, I think is a step in the right direction. We've also created like we do a lot of events, you know, and we've done like a lot of collaborations with parties.
Yeah.
We do like dating events as well. So maybe African, and you know, Sharik is with a Nigerian brother, you know, stuff like that. I think it helps to enhance that unity. You know, this topic you just brought up is so huge, man. Like,
so would you suggest that we go? Like, you know, would you suggest that a bunch of, you know, African Americans go there? And
absolutely. A lot of last year was a very huge year. It was called the Year of Return. It was 400 years after the first slave ship docked in America, and a lot of people went back. You know, but I think that it's a very good step to go back and understand. I like what Gigi did. You check your genealogy. You see, I think it helps you as well to understand. Although there are a lot of people who have some issues with like doing the DNA test.
Yeah,
you know, that's another thing. But I would say that just going there and educating yourself is very important, because a lot of conception about what Africa is not true. You know, I'll tell you that. You know, so do your education. You know, check for research. We can help if you want help, and you know, go back. You know, just talk with people and try to educate yourself. I personally moved here 5 years ago from Nigeria. And, you know, I've done a lot of education myself to understand the Black community, the African American experience. I don't know what that is, but I'm learning every day. You know, I'm also unlearning a lot of things that I've been taught back home about what African American is.
What they tell you.
You know, I wanted to say something about that, because I think that's very, very important. I think coming from a Black male's perspective, right? So growing up, like my best friends were Nigerian, but I think everybody wants to feel validated and heard, right? And I think what you just spoke to about like, hey, listening and understanding that there are some differences from the Black American experience, and Black Americans needing to understand that there are differences too. Going back to like the early civil rights movement, as you were talking about, Sharik, it was the oppressors in this country that created this model immigrant type of theory. It was that I've had professors tell me that, you know, when they were walking around in DC going to college, that if you dressed like an African American, people looked down upon you. But if you had tribal clothing on, you got treated with more respect. So that was something ingrained in this country. It didn't come from us. It was because of the light skin, dark skin type of divide, where whites in other communities were like, oh no, if you're a foreigner, you must be hardworking. And if you're, you know, an African American, you must be lazy and dirty, that sort of thing. So I feel like some of it's not even coming from us. It's coming from unlearning the divide that the outside community has had. And then secondarily, it's us learning each other, learning and respecting each other's cultures. And yes, I always say this, black is black is black is black. We're all the same blood. We all come from the same place. But as long as we're validating each other's independent experiences, I think that's really important, that everybody feels heard and their experiences are heard too.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, and one thing I was going to say is colorism has been something that we have dealt with, that deals with divide for forever. And so I know when I first got my genealogy report, I was so excited to tell my Nigerian friends, like, oh, girl, I'm Nigerian, you know, and they were like, what? You're light skinned. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I was very disheartened by that, because I'm like, the only European feature that I have is, I guess, the color of my skin. And so that was disheartening to me. And it wasn't until I talked to someone that had direct ties to Africa, but lives here and goes back and forth. And he said, Eugene, listen, he said, a lot of the Black American Nigerians, they don't even know the culture. They know based upon what their parents taught them, but some of them haven't even been back themselves. And he said, there are people of all hues that are there. There are women that look like you that's there. And he said, don't ever let anyone make you feel like you are displaced because of the color of your skin. And I took that life lesson with me, because, you know, what was something that I was proud of, I felt like, dang, you know, and it wasn't until I talked to someone that had those direct ties that I was like, man, that made me feel even more inclined to go. And so I think that conversations like this, and realizing that Black is beautiful, it comes in all different shades. Everyone that is in this show tonight are all different hues and shades. And the reason why a lot of this is going on is because of the resources that are in Africa. It's because of the oil. It's because of the gas. SARS has been around for 3 years, but it wasn't until the revolution in October, you know, that all of these things have been happening. The video that was dispersed October 3rd is really what really got people to start protesting. And so I just encourage us as a people to realize that we're all beautiful. We're all different shades. And as Timmy was saying earlier today, a lot of us, if not all of us, ties back to Africa.
Yeah.
And so if we do come together and we realize the beauty of that, I think that we'll just be stronger. And we are so much stronger together than we are separated. And the funny part is, it's like everybody knows that but us sometimes. And it's like, you know what I mean? There has been intentional divides for years. And so I just encourage everyone to do your research. Africa is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful continent. And realize that, you know, we're all different, but we're all beautiful in our own ways.
I'm sorry. I'm over here laughing. I don't know if you
we got to talk at the same thing. So my girlfriend's my girlfriend's
what are you guys laughing at?
We had a conversation all the time. Who makes the best jollof rice? I'm not in it. I don't know. I'm Black American, man.
It's not in for contention, guys. Come on, it's Nigeria. It's not even a conversation.
Look, I'm unbiased. I'm unbiased, and I've been to the jollof event that they had here in Los Angeles. I'm gonna keep my opinion to myself.
Oh, wow. Really? You know what that means?
I prefer Nigerian jollof. I'm just gonna say it. I do. That's just
she must have heard her boyfriend in the background. She had to sit. She had to come out.
That's my wife right there.
That's his wife.
Hey.
No, but this is a great place to leave it off. Timmy, I want to thank you so much for coming on and giving us a wealth of knowledge and insight. I know we can keep talking. I definitely want to have this conversation again. And if by any means, maybe Yup can partner with Amplify Africa. I'm thinking, you know, we can have a much grandiose conversation and get more people involved, because this is not only the movement to end the divisiveness between our communities, but to gain the right attention and the right movement and steps to making it better, both in Nigeria and all of Africa here at home. Because, I mean, honestly, it's the Europeans' fault. Just all the way around. They just messed it up anyway. So we have to go fix it. No, I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. But we do have some work to do, and we do not need to know that it's systemic. And definitely, we wanted to put this up, Timmy. If you wanted to speak on this, these are the End SARS protests that are upcoming. Sent to us.
Yeah. So upcoming End SARS protests. You know, wherever you are watching from, you know, they're like major cities: Washington D.C., New York, Las Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, Oakland. I know that's where you're from. Seattle,
I'll be there. Yeah.
Providence, you know, so just join. I think we'll be updating this on our Instagram. I think we have an updated one, but like just make sure you join, support, and if you want to donate as well, you know, there are ways you can donate. Check on our page and just assist in whatever way you can. Continue to use the hashtag EndSARS now, and police brutality. And, you know, there are a lot of resources that you can find on our page if you go on there, you know, just to update you on what's going on.
Perfect. So we'll just
I got to move now, actually.
So final thoughts. I kind of said my final thoughts. Everyone, we know we have less than 2 weeks to go vote. If this isn't evidence enough that we need to really monitor our government and monitor what the people who are in charge are doing, we can't allow devastation to continue to happen within this decade as it has been happening. So yes, please go out and vote. And I'm gonna pass it over to you, Lawrence.
Final thoughts, definitely in SARS. My heart just definitely goes out to what I said before. Propositions, yes, on Prop 16, affirmative action. We deserve to have accurate representation of minorities in schools, and no on Prop 22. I don't care what you heard before. No on 22. Okay, we do not let kids go out here just because kids want to work at like 12 years old. We don't let them work. You shouldn't let people not be able to get their rights.
Oh Lord.
All right.
All right, y'all.
Okay.
Gigi, did you have any final thoughts?
Of course. So I saw Lawrence. You saw how the camera cut you out when you said Prop 22. It was like, what? No, you know, if you guys tuned in late, I said yes on Prop 22. So there's a little division, but all in love. I encourage you guys to research your propositions in your respective states or your measures or amendments, depending on which state you're in, because it does make a difference. I also encourage you to definitely be tapped in. If nothing else, let people know what's going on in SARS. Let people know what's going on in Congo. Congo is bleeding. And if nothing else, don't let this election ruin your friendships or break up your families. Realize the importance of your support system. Don't let this stress you out. Utilize your coping mechanisms. Eat right. And if nothing else, protect your peace. It is so important. Please remember to follow each of us on our social medias. We would love to connect with you guys. If you want to partner with us, add us on Yelp_network on Instagram and obviously on Facebook as well. We want to hear from you. We want to know what is bothering you and what you want to talk about. And we're always willing to learn. There's some topics that we just don't know about. And so thank you guys again. And thank you, Timmy. Wealth of knowledge. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yes,
thank you for having me.
I hope everyone has a good night, I guess.
See y'all next week. And yeah, go to that candlelight visual, Timmy. Hurry.
Yes, I'm on my way right now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.